Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another online session of Not a Skill Center. Today, the topic of discussion will be clear finish courses from Food and Beverage Service and Operations. Hope you will enjoy the video. After completion of today's lesson, the students should be able to identify the items used to clear finished courses. They will be able to understand different signals related to table service. They will briefly explain procedure of clearing finished courses and outline the sequence of service in clearing finished courses for different service styles. Before starting today's session, let's first understand the items used to clear finished courses or the items with which the guest service associate should be equipped of before going to a table to clear its finished courses. The first one is beverage round or salver. The next one is tray. Sometimes for bigger table, mainly the beverage round is replaced with trays as well. And the third one is crumbing set. Sometimes we call it crumb set as well. It is a very important point to remember that only glasswares and silverwares are collected in beverage round or silver and in trays, but the flatwares or crockeries, mainly the full plate, B&B, etc., are not carried in this silver or trays. Instead, they are carried in hand. The process of carrying in hand will be clarified in the coming slides. As we know, what are the things to be kept ready before going to a table for clearance, the next very question which strikes our mind is what is the best time to clear the guest table, or how will we know whether the guest has completed his food or not? Generally, as we work in a human industry, we have to be very observant to identify whether the guest is ready to go for the next course or to get his plate cleared or not. Generally, we get to know by if guest has finished his meal and there is no food left in his plate, or if the guest has put knife and fork in middle of the empty plate, or guest hasn't touched the plate for more than 15 minutes. But always this things doesn't work. For example, if there are three people sitting in a table and only one of the guests has finished the food, then we should not go to the table to clear his food, because the other two guests may feel that we are in rush, or they may feel embarrassed. So we should be always very observant and we should take care of many things before going to a table to clear the food. There are many signals which we use in our food and beverage service industry to identify the guest expressions. Means to identify whether the guest has finished his food or not, whether he finds his food good or bad, and more. Here in the slide, you can see some expressions which actually indicates whether the guest is ready or not for the next course, or whether he likes the food or not. But always remember, guests do not do this all the time. We have to take care of many other things, as I said in my previous slide, to identify whether all the people in the table are finished or not. Generally, to be in a safer side, we should always ask the guest about his completion or not before clearing the plate. especially when we are doubtful for completion of a guest. From the previous slides, we now know what are the things to be kept ready before going for clearance to a table, how to identify whether the guest has completed his food or not, and the different signals which generally a guest gives us to clear his plate. Now, in this slide, we will discuss the guest table clearing procedure. Always remember, we should clear guest plates after every course. From that, I mean after completion of starter, main course, and dessert. Always remember to ask guest feedback while doing clearance of each course. And whenever we are clearing guest beverage glasses, always ask guest whether he likes to take next round or not. Now, coming back to the guest table clearance procedure. First, start with the lady, always, or the person to the right of the host. Standing at the back right hand corner of the guest chair, lean forward and pick up the used plate and cutlery with your right hand. Transfer the plate to your left hand, holding it between the thumb and the index finger, and place your thumb over the end of the fork. Use the knife to move the leftover to the front of the plate. Then place the knife under the handle of the fork at right angles to it. Moving anti-clockwise round the table, place yourself behind the next guest. Holding your left hand behind the guest, lean forward and pick up the second used plate and its cutlery. Always remember, during clearance, keep a safe distance between you and the guest to avoid spillage. Place the fork alongside the other fork on the first plate and using the knife, push the leftover down to the second plate onto the front of the first plate to join the scraps already there. Then place the knife alongside the knife on the first plate. Moving anti-clockwise round the table, collect the remaining plates and cutleries. Stack the plates on the second plate and arrange the cutlery on the first plate, following the same procedure as for the second plate. Then, the numbers of the plate which can be collected in this way will depend on your skill and experience. When you have collected as many plates as you can confidently carry, then take those plates and cutlery to the sideboard and place them on a tray for removal, or take them directly to the dishwashing area. Always remember, apart from this cutleries and crockeries, the other things can be taken in a beverage round or in a tray. This type of clearance of crockery and silverware is called two-plate clearing technique. You can see three images in your slide now. Now it will be easier for you to understand what is being said in last two slides. In the first image, you can see that a guest service associate had picked up a soil plate from the guest table from his right hand and placed in between his index finger and thumb finger of left hand. In the next image, you can see that the guest service associate has picked up second plate from the guest table and placed it in his left hand on his palm. Then he first took the soiled fork from the second table and kept it in his first plate and scraping the leftovers from the second plate to the first plate. In the third image, you can see that eventually he collected 3 to 4 plates and stacked all the cutleries in the first plate and stacked the other plates on his left palm according to his capacity. Now, I think you are getting a good idea of what is being said. Always remember, don't overload your arm with many plates because this can cause accident. Always it's better to come to the table for next round rather than doing something which may make the feel of the guest uncomfortable. There are certain things we should always remember while going for clearance in a table. The first thing is we should not take more than 5 minutes in between clearing a course and serving other course because this will give a unpleasant dining experience to the guest. The next point is we should never keep our tray on the guest table during clearance. Third, though the guest will indicate us by various signals that he is completed with his course or he need clearance, but we should always ask confirmation from the guest before clearing his table. Fourth point is the bread and butter setting and crate set should only be removed after completion of the main course because after completion of the main course when the guest will be going for dessert then only he will not require bread and butter or salt and pepper. And last but not the least, we should not overload ourselves with more crockeries, cutleries, or glasswares during clearance. Instead, it is always advisable to take another round. Now, from previous slides, we understood how and when to clear the guest table. Now, again, there are different service styles and there are different timings and ways of clearing those tables as well. For example, there are service styles like plated service, buffet service, banquet service. So the clearing time and the way of clearing those plates are also different. For example, in plated service, platter service, or corridor service, we should clear plates when everyone at the table finishes their food. But again, in buffet service, we don't need to wait for everyone to clear their plates because here people come, they have their food and go. So here in case of buffet service, as a guest completes his food, we should clear his plate immediately. The third form of service is banquet service. Here in this case, when only the head or the VIP table completes his food, we have to start doing clearance for all the guests. So we should always remember the sequence of service in clearance for different styles of service. Hope you have understood what has been taught in the lesson today, that is how and when we have to clear the finished courses. Thank you.